Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado. Hope you're having a great week. This time of year is so nice because there's so many reasons to get together with family and friends, oftentimes around a big meal. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, holiday parties, you name it. It is awesome. But you know what isn't awesome? It's our state government, our state legislature, and our governor going against the sale of certain eggs here in Colorado. So if you haven't seen it in the news already, you're going to see it as we get a lot closer to January 1. But they are outlawing certain types of eggs for sale here in Colorado. Absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Eggs, I would say, are the foundation of so much of our food and agriculture, not just out here in the West, but across the whole country. Eggs, generally speaking, are inexpensive, they're accessible, they're used for so many applications in cooking. It's totally irresponsible, and it is not the proper role of government for them to create these laws that outlaw certain types of eggs. Absolutely totally ridiculous. So you may have seen some of this already going around in your supermarket, in your community. Maybe you've seen it on social media. Out of eggs due to state supply issue. This was at a natural grocers. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of egg shortages, bare shelves in the past have been due to other issues, and maybe even some of these current issues we're seeing is not necessarily due to this new law, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help anything when the state government comes in and restricts the supply of a nutritious food. So maybe we'll see more and more of this. So here's an article. Let's get into some of the details here from KKCO 11 News, updated November 11th, 2024. All eggs sold in Colorado will be cage-free by 2025. Gosh, where did they get this idea? Well, it's been long California, Washington, and some of these other authoritarian leftist type states. So from the article here, starting at the top, the Colorado Department of Agriculture, CDA, announced that all eggs sold in Colorado will be cage-free starting January 1, 2025. The rule is an amendment to House Bill 20, 1343, which outlines certain guidelines that farm owners and operators who deal with poultry have to abide by. Quote, this affects all egg producers within and outside of Colorado, and this has been a phased-in approach since the law was adopted in 2020, end quote, said Dan Zagari, Technical Services Section Chief for the Inspection and Consumer Services Division at CDA. Gosh, that is a mouthful. That is a bureaucratic mess right there. It's unbelievable how much regulation, oversight, and government control there is over our food supply. This is the foundation of our lives. We need food to live. It's not like it's something we can go without. It is not a luxury good, but we have politicians treating our eggs, our milk, so much of our other agricultural products as luxury goods to control. Anyways, back to the article here. All egg producers were required to meet the standard 144 square inches space per egg laying hen. The House bill originally set the requirement for an enclosure to have at least 1 square foot of space per hen. Now all hens have to be confined in a cage-free housing system. Wow. Dawn Adams, owner and operator of Green Junction Farmstead, shared her thoughts on how this might affect consumers and farmers. She sees the pros and cons of this change. Quote, the egg prices will go up. So these big companies, they'll have to do some infrastructure change, and that always trickles down to the consumer and the cost of eggs, she said. It will benefit the chickens more to not be so confined and on top of each other. The rule may also affect retailers who sell eggs. Prices to buy eggs in bulk may also increase. However, outsourcing may not be an option. Quote, outsourcing is going to make the eggs older, travel longer, and possibly have temperature change from truck to truck or however it might be, said Adams. So that's absolutely right. I mean, prices going up, government interfering in the market and causing these producers to respond, causing consumers to change their habits. And of course, what about bakeries? What about all these restaurants? What about all these places in Colorado that use eggs to produce their final product? Of course, they're going to have to pass along those costs to the consumers. Going through the article here, business owners are also required to follow these requirements set by the CDA. Quote, a business owner may not knowingly sell or transport for sale in Colorado eggs or egg products that were produced by a hen that was confined in a manner not compliant with the enclosure requirements. Egg producers in Colorado who house more than 3,000 egg-laying hens are required to comply with this change. All farms and businesses producing or selling eggs, regardless of the amount, will need to conduct an audit to seek confirmation from the state. Gosh, absolutely not only ridiculous. So, I mean, you're going to see people out there, you'll see some people on social media, these apologists for big government, apologists for authoritarianism say, well, it's only the big egg producers that this affects, the ones that have 3,000 or more chickens. Hey, I mean, Colorado's got millions of people in it. Some of the biggest producers we have are the ones providing the lowest cost to the consumer. They have more than 3,000 hens, okay? Not to mention that all farms and businesses producing or selling eggs need to conduct an audit and get confirmation from the state. This is increasing state control over our food supply. It is not a good thing. So, all those people out there who say, well, this only affects the big egg producers, I mean, you don't understand that this is a true liberty issue that affects all of us here in Colorado. So let's look at that bill here. This was House Bill 1343. Representative Dylan Roberts, totally out of touch with the common person. Pie in the sky guy, if you've seen a lot of his stuff in the past. I mean, total clown. Senator Carrie Donovan, thankfully, she is out of government now. Now, Carrie Donovan is the wife of Shad Marib, who's the chairman of the Colorado Democratic Party. Total political insider, always tweeting about her little ranch in the mountains and how great it is, but she's one of the people behind that Ministry of Truth bill we saw a couple years ago. I won't get into that now, but it is absolutely ridiculous. So here they are, these little do-good politicians who think they're making society better for these chickens at the expense of everybody else. Here's their bill. I'm going to have all the links at freestatecolorado.com. You can go in, read all this information for yourself, do some digging. But looking at the fiscal note here, this is a key part. Now, this is something that people need to understand, right? Because people who say, oh, the government's doing this, the government's doing that, it's really not that big of a deal. The reality is, this can lead to people going to jail. It can lead to people being fined. It can lead to businesses being shut down. If you don't follow these laws, if you don't follow these government regulations and controls over our lives, then you can face civil and criminal penalties. That's the reality of it. So here we go. This is from that bill, from the fiscal note to the bill. The Commissioner of Agriculture is required to promulgate rules for enforcement, including inspection of farms, shell eggs, and egg products to ensure compliance with the enclosure standards. The Commissioner may use a government or private inspection process verification provider to ensure compliance. Well, who's going to pay for that? It's the taxpayers and then these egg producers. Of course, they're going to have to front the cost for a lot of this, of course. To sell eggs, a producer must have a certificate from the CDA that verifies that the shell eggs and egg products were produced in compliance with the enclosure standards. A buyer must obtain a copy of the certificate. I mean, this is Soviet style bureaucracy. This kind of thing has no place in our free society. Violations of of the provisions of the bill are subject to a civil penalty of up to $1,000 per violation. Now, is that $1,000 per egg you sell? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is designed to socially engineer our society. And, I get it. People out there are saying this is not the biggest deal we're facing. There's a lot of other problems in Colorado going on. Believe me, I know. But nonetheless, the government manipulating our food supply, government creating more control systems over our food supply, government trying to tell consumers what they can and cannot do, raising the cost of food on hardworking families in Colorado. This is a major issue that needs to be fought. Here's just a quick search I did on King Soopers for cage-free eggs. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember, seeing sales in the past, $1.99, $2.99 for a dozen eggs. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure we're going to see that again. There's some producers out there who are going to be able to adapt to these government rules and come up with better ways to provide lower cost eggs to the consumer, for sure. Don't get me wrong, but nonetheless, the reality of where we're at right now, $4.99, now that $6.99, $7.29, some of those are 18 counts, don't get me wrong. $4.99 for a 12 count. It's a big increase. I mean, we got inflation, we got these increased costs we've seen over years on all of our food products, and now the eggs go up a dollar or two. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not the proper role of government. It's totally wrong. Now, I thought this article was interesting. This is from Denver 7, because you're going to see this as well about some of these people who say, oh, this egg shortage is not due to the new law. It's due to the bird flu. So experts say bird flu, not new cage-free law to blame for egg shortages at some Colorado grocery stores. At one Whole Foods in Denver, a notice posted on the egg section stated, quote, "We are currently experiencing difficulties sourcing eggs that meet our strict animal welfare standards." At King Soopers, bare shelves come with a notice about a 2020 Colorado law requiring cage-free eggs. Quote, "Those signs in the store got people up in arms. The word that I got is that the shortage is caused by the cage-free law, and that is not true. That is just not true," said Bill Skeeby, executive director of the Colorado Egg Producers. Skibby said the bird flu outbreak is to blame for empty shelves, not the cage-free law. Farms have had to decrease their flocks by over 100 million hens. When you take that many hens out of the system, you don't get eggs. That's just the bottom line. So, I mean, come on. The big issue here, government meddling in our food supply creates food insecurity. So now you have stricter standards about where these eggs can come from, and then you have something happen like they did this summer with this bird flu going around. I mean, is he wrong? He's partially right, don't get me wrong, but nonetheless, this bird flu situation combined with this cage-free egg situation is leading to shortages. That is for sure. It is creating a less secure food supply system, creating less resilience in our economy, in our state for good, high quality food. Now, there's a study out here from these universities, as you can see. Now, it's from February 2023. This cage-free egg situation, a mandate, these laws have been going on for many years, as we said, out on the West Coast primarily. So you can dive into this and get links at Free State Colorado. But there was one line in here that I thought was really interesting. The share of consumers choosing not to buy eggs will increase by 20 percentage points. So, you have less people buying eggs because of these new laws, these new restrictions, because of this insecurity in our food system that can lead to shortages, that can lead to higher costs, lead to less availability. Now, there was a good post or article here from Andrea Gunn, or Amber Gunn, excuse me, from mountainstatespolicy.org that I thought was really interesting. Had some good links in it from February of this year. And she's out in Washington where the same thing happened out there. But I wanted to share this quote from her article. This is now the Washington egg market, where the only option is the expensive, cage free option. We should expect low income families to reduce or eliminate their egg purchases. By prioritizing the humane treatment of animals above the nutritional needs of low income Washingtonians, lawmakers are pushing citizens away from protein rich eggs that promote brain and eye health toward cheaper, less nutritiously dense grain options. Think sugary cereals and other breakfast junk. And that's just it right there, right? I mean, come on, we're in this age of make America healthy again. Colorado should be leading the charge, making eggs more expensive, reducing the supply of eggs is moving us in the wrong direction entirely. She hit the nail on the head. I mean, how many times do we have these government policies, these government do-gooder laws come through, and they're acting from a point, I hate to use the word, but they're acting from a point of privilege. You have these rich politicians coming in. Hey, who cares? We just reduce or increase the cost of eggs by $1 or two. That's okay. It's worth it. But not for working class families, not for people struggling to make ends meet as it is. If they see this expensive pack of eggs versus $1 or $2 cereal, that's terrible for their family. Sometimes you got to choose the less expensive option just because you don't have a choice economically. So, nonetheless, big point here. Article I talked about back in July from Rachel Gable, great agricultural reporter. Nearly 2 million head of poultry depopulated due to this bird flu. All eyes on egg biosecurity. And that's in Colorado. They killed 2 million chickens this year to get rid of this bird flu issue. So, food insecurity is a real thing. I think that's one of the biggest issues here. You limit that food supply, you create food insecurity. And these bureaucratic, top down, centrally planned approaches always lead to less stable, less secure societies, more fragile societies, if you will. So, that's definitely a big issue that we need to contend with. And of course, one of the biggest things here, any government law is backed up by government guns. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Whether you like a law or not, the idea is that the government is willing to use law enforcement to enforce that law, right? It's right there in the name. So, what does that mean for somebody who wants to buy and sell eggs? Maybe you own a big egg farm here in Colorado. Maybe you want to import eggs or do some other things. But hey, if the eggs are not approved by the government, I mean, they'll fine you. We saw that. They'll arrest you. If you resist arrest, we know what happens to those people. So I made that little meme there. Caged chickens, no, no, no. Caged people, well, if we have to break a few eggs to create this omelet, the state government is usually okay with those types of things. So absolutely outrageous, putting people in a bad position to make the lives of chickens better off. Just shows that hubris, shows the same kind of philosophy we saw with the wolves a few years ago. But I would say, a free society does not outlaw the production, transport, or sale of any food. Food freedom is going to become one of the biggest issues that Free State Colorado is going to be fighting for in this 2025 state legislature, as well as years to come. So please sign up on the mailing list, get involved, Free State Colorado has some big plans to fight back against these big government authoritarians who are trying to control every aspect of our lives, restrict our food supply, and push Colorado in the wrong direction. But it's only going to change when people get involved. I mean, that's the big thing, right? Everybody knows the problems. People say, "Oh my gosh, what can we do? What can we do?" Well, if enough people get involved, we can do something about it because it's going to keep getting worse and worse. More restrictions, more control, less affordability. It all goes together unless the people get involved. So sign up for the mailing list. Free State Colorado is going to be one of the groups leading the fight here against this food authoritarianism we've seen. Colorado is an agriculture state. We need to have food freedom. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hope you have happy holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and we'll talk to you later.